They say trust is everything in a marriage. Mine shattered the night. I overheard my wife giggling on the phone with someone who wasn't me. What came next? A stranger answering my own front door, telling my cheating wife those three perfect words. Who are you? Revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's calculated, cold, and absolutely devastating. My name is Preston Clark. I'm 48 years old, and I work as a supply chain analyst for a mid-sized logistics company in Memphis, Tennessee. It's not glamorous work, but it pays the bills, or at least it used to before the company downsized last year. I took a pay cut to keep my position, while younger guys with sharper degrees got promoted past me. That stung, but I swallowed it. Rita, my wife of 20 years, didn't say much about it, though I caught the disappointment in her eyes when I told her about the salary reduction. Rita is 43, works in corporate event planning, and she's good at what she does. Real good. She's got that polished look, always put together, always networking. I used to be proud of that. Used to brag about her to the guys at work. Now I wonder if I was just too blind to see what was right in front of me. We have a son, Dylan. He just turned 18 last month, senior year at Germantown High. Good kid, quiet, keeps to himself mostly. Plays guitar, wants to study music production in college. Rita always said he got his artistic side from her family, like I had nothing to contribute but a steady paycheck. It started 3 weeks ago on a Thursday night. I come home early from work because they'd sent half the office home due to some server maintenance. Rita wasn't expecting me. I walked through the front door of our brick ranch house on Poplar Ridge Drive and heard her voice coming from the bedroom upstairs. She was laughing, that light, flirty laugh I hadn't heard in years. Not directed at me, anyway. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, grocery bag still in my hands, listening. I can't wait either, Rita said, her voice soft and warm. Next week feels like forever. There was a pause. She was on the phone. Stop it. You're terrible, she continued, giggling. Dylan's at practice, and Preston won't be home for another 2 hours. I know. I'll think about it. My stomach twisted. I set the bags down quietly and walked back outside, got in my truck, and drove around the block twice before pulling back into the driveway like I just arrived. When I came through the door the second time, Rita was in the kitchen, humming to herself, acting like everything was normal. Hey, babe, she said without looking up from her phone. You're home early. Server issues at work. I replied, watching her face for any sign of guilt. Nothing. Just a distracted nod. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to her in the dark, listening to her breathe, and wondered who she'd been talking to. Wondered what next week meant. Wondered if I was losing my mind or finally waking up. The next few days, I started paying attention. Real attention, the kind you don't want to pay because once you start, you can't unsee what's right in front of you. Rita's patterns became obvious. She'd check her phone constantly, but always angled away from me. She'd leave the room to take calls, claiming it was work, but her voice would drop to that same warm, flirty tone I'd heard that Thursday night. On Monday morning, I told Rita I had an early client meeting downtown. I didn't. Instead, I sat in my truck across the street from our house and watched. At 8:15, Rita came out wearing a navy dress I'd never seen before, heels that clicked on the driveway, hair and makeup done like she was going somewhere that mattered. She drove her white Lexus toward downtown Memphis, and I followed 3 cars back, feeling like some character in a bad crime drama. She didn't go to her office on Union Avenue. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of the Riverbend Cafe near the Wolf River. I parked down the street and watched through my rearview mirror. 5 minutes later, a silver BMW pulled in beside her. A man got out. Tall, fit, probably mid-40s, wearing an expensive suit that screamed corporate money. He walked straight to Rita's car, opened her door like some kind of gentleman, and they hugged. Not a friendly hug. The kind of hug where you hold on too long, where your hands linger on someone's back. They walked into the cafe together, and I sat there gripping my steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Part of me wanted to storm in there and flip a table. The other part, the smarter part, knew I needed more than this. I needed proof. Hard, undeniable proof that would hold up when things got legal. I didn't go into the cafe. I took photos with my phone, captured the license plate of the BMW, and drove to work 2 hours late. My boss, Jerry Reynolds, gave me a look when I walked in, but he didn't say anything. Jerry's been divorced twice. He probably recognized the look on my face. That evening, I came home and acted normal. Rita was already in the kitchen, heating up leftover lasagna, talking about some client event she had a plan for next month. I nodded along, asked the right questions, pretended everything was fine. Dylan called, Rita said, stirring pasta sauce. He's staying late at school for band practice. Won't be home until 7. That's good, I said. Kid's dedicated. Rita smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. He gets that from me. I almost laughed at that. Dylan got his work ethic from watching me drag myself to a job I hated just to keep food on the table. But I didn't argue. Not worth it anymore. After dinner, I went down to the basement, opened my laptop, and ran the BMW's license plate through a database I had access to from work. Logistics companies use them to track commercial vehicles, but it works on personal cars too. The name that came back was Kurt Stone, age 44, corporate address listed as Stone and Associates Marketing, downtown Memphis. I pulled up the company website. Kurt Stone was the founder and CEO. His bio bragged about his 15 years in brand development, his awards, his vision for innovative marketing strategies. There was a photo of him smiling in that same expensive suit, looking like the kind of guy who never had to take a pay cut in his life. I sat there staring at his face until my eyes burned. This was the man my wife was meeting in secret. This was the man she laughed with on the phone while I was at work, keeping our family afloat. I closed the laptop and went upstairs. Rita was already in bed, scrolling through her phone. I stood in the doorway watching her, and, for the first time in 20 years, I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I didn't confront Rita. Not yet. I've seen enough guys at work blow up their lives by acting on emotion instead of strategy. They storm in, make accusations, and end up with nothing but a messy divorce where the wife gets the house and half their pension. I wasn't going to be that guy. Instead, I called a private investigator. Found one online named Dale Hutchins. Ran a background check on him first to make sure he was legitimate. His office was in a strip mall off Germantown Parkway, sandwiched between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. Not glamorous, but Dale came recommended. I met with Dale on a Thursday afternoon. He was in his 60s, former police detective, gray hair buzzed short, handshake like a vice grip. The kind of guy who'd seen everything twice and wasn't impressed by much. Mr. Clark, Dale said, gesturing to a chair across from his cluttered desk. You mentioned on the phone you need surveillance work. My wife, I said, sliding a photo of Rita across the desk. I think she's having an affair. I need proof. Dale picked up the photo, studied it for a moment, then set it down. How long have you suspected? About a week. Maybe longer if I'm honest with myself. You want photos, timestamps, the whole package. I nodded. Everything that'll hold up if this goes to court. Dale quoted me a price that made me wince, but I wrote the check anyway. I've been setting aside money for my consulting work on the side, money Rita didn't know about. It wasn't much, but it was enough for this. I'll start Monday, Dale said. Give me 2 weeks. If there's something to find, I'll find it. I left his office feeling like I just set something in motion I couldn't stop. But I needed this. Needed to know for sure. That weekend, Rita announced she had a business trip coming up. Charleston, South Carolina. 3 days, some corporate event she was planning. She'd be leaving Wednesday morning, back Friday night. Sounds exhausting, I said, keeping my voice neutral. It is, Rita replied, not looking up from her phone. But the client's paying well, so I can't complain. Dylan was in the kitchen with us, making a sandwich. He glanced at his mother, then at me, and I saw something in his eyes. Recognition, maybe. Like he knew something was off, but didn't want to say it. You okay with me being gone for a few days? Rita asked Dylan. Dylan shrugged. Yeah, whatever. Dad and I will manage. Rita smiled, kissed him on the forehead, and went upstairs. Dylan looked at me, and for a moment, I thought he was going to say something. But he just grabbed his sandwich and headed to his room. Monday came, and Dale started his surveillance. I went to work like normal, pretended everything was fine. Tuesday evening, Dale called. Got something you need to see, Dale said. His voice was flat, professional. Can you meet me tomorrow morning? What is it? Better if I show you in person. Wednesday morning, I met Dale at Waffle House off I-40. He handed me a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photos. Dozens of them. Rita and Kurt Stone at the Riverbend Cafe. Rita and Kurt Stone at a hotel parking lot near the airport. Rita and Kurt Stone walking into a room at the Courtyard Inn, his hand on the small of her back. Every photo was time-stamped. Every photo was clear. There was no ambiguity, no room for excuses. I checked the hotel records, Dale said quietly. The room was registered under his name. They were there for 3 hours yesterday afternoon. I stared at the photos, feeling something cold settle in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Just a calm, clear understanding that my marriage was over and I needed to protect myself. I need more, I said. I need everything. Dale nodded. I'll keep working. You'll have what you need. By Friday, Dale had given me everything. Photos, timestamp logs, even a copy of the hotel receipt. Rita and Kurt Stone had been meeting regularly for at least 2 months, maybe longer. The evidence was airtight. But before I could figure out my next move, life threw me another curveball. I've been having headaches for weeks. Sharp, stabbing pains behind my right eye that wouldn't go away no matter how much ibuprofen I took. I figured it was stress. Finding out your wife's cheating will do that. But when my vision started blurring during a meeting at work, my boss Jerry pulled me aside. Preston, you look like death, Jerry said bluntly. Go see a doctor. That's not a suggestion. I made an appointment with Dr. Kenneth Brennan, my primary care physician. He ran some tests, ordered an MRI, and called me back in 3 days later with results that made the infidelity seem almost trivial. Preston, Dr. Brennan said, his tone careful. The MRI showed a mass. It's small, but it's there. We need to run more tests, but I'm referring you to an oncologist. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Oncologist. Cancer. How serious? I asked. We don't know yet. Could be benign. Could be something we need to treat aggressively. But we caught it early, and that's good. I walked out of that office in a fog. I sat in my truck in the parking lot for 20 minutes, staring at nothing. My wife was cheating on me, and now I might have cancer. The universe had a sick sense of humor. I didn't tell Rita about the diagnosis. Why would I? She was too busy planning her next rendezvous with Kurt Stone to care about my health. Instead, I told Dylan that night after Rita went to bed. Dylan was in his room, strumming his guitar softly. I knocked, and he looked up. Hey, Dad. What's up? I sat on the edge of his bed. I need to tell you something, and I need you to keep it between us for now. Dylan set the guitar down, his face suddenly serious. What's wrong? I went to the doctor this week. They found something. A mass in my head. They're running more tests, but it might be cancer. Dylan's face went pale. Dad, are you serious? Yeah, but we caught it early. I'm going to fight this, and I'm going to win. But I need you to stay strong, okay? Dylan nodded slowly, his hands shaking. Does Mom know? No, and I don't want to tell her yet. Why not? I looked at my son, this young man who was about to have his world turned upside down, and made a choice. He deserved the truth. Because your mother's been lying to us, Dylan. And I don't trust her with this right now. Dylan stared at me, and I saw the understanding dawn in his eyes. He wasn't a kid anymore. He knew something was broken in this house long before I confirmed it. A week after telling Dylan about the diagnosis, things started to shift in our house. Dylan became quieter, more withdrawn. He stopped talking to Rita at dinner, gave her one-word answers when she asked about school. Rita noticed, but didn't seem to care. She was too distracted by her phone, by whatever Kurt Stone was texting her. One night, Rita came home late from another supposed client meeting. It was almost 10. Dylan was in the kitchen grabbing a snack when she walked through the door. Where have you been? Dylan asked. His voice was sharp, accusatory. Rita stopped, surprised. Working. I told you I had a client dinner. Right, Dylan said, his tone dripping with disbelief. A client dinner. Rita's face hardened. Excuse me? What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not stupid, Mom. None of us are stupid. I was in the living room, listening. I stood up and walked to the kitchen doorway. Rita saw me, and her expression shifted to defensive anger. Preston, are you going to let him talk to me like this? Rita demanded. Let him speak, I said calmly. He's got something to say. Dylan looked at his mother, and I could see years of frustration building up behind his eyes. You think we don't notice? You think Dad doesn't notice? Rita's face went pale. Notice what? That you're never here anymore. That you're always on your phone. That you don't care about us. Dylan, that's not fair, Rita started, but Dylan cut her off. You know it's not fair. Dylan's voice rose. Dad's sick. He's actually sick, and you don't even know because you're too busy with whoever you're seeing. Rita froze. Her eyes darted to me. Preston, what is he talking about? I have a medical condition, I said evenly. The doctors are running tests. I told Dylan because he deserves to know. And you didn't tell me? Rita's voice was shrill now. Why would I? I asked. You've made it clear where your priorities are. Rita's face twisted with something between guilt and rage. Then she did something I'll never forget. She looked at Dylan, her own son, and said the words that destroyed whatever was left of our family. You want to know the truth, Dylan? Yes, I've been seeing someone. Someone who actually appreciates me. Someone who doesn't make me feel like I wasted my life. The silence in the kitchen was deafening. Dylan stared at his mother like she'd slapped him. His name is Kurt, Rita continued, her voice bitter. And he's a better man than your father will ever be. Dylan's hands clenched into fists. Get out. What? Rita blinked. Get out of this house, Dylan repeated, his voice shaking. You don't get to say that about Dad. Not after everything he's done for us. Rita looked at me, expecting me to intervene. But I just stood there, arms crossed, watching her realize what she'd just done. Fine, Rita said finally. She grabbed her purse and keys. I'll stay at a hotel. But we're going to talk about this, Preston. No, I said quietly. We're not. You just said everything that needed to be said. Rita left. The door slammed behind her. Dylan stood in the kitchen, breathing hard, tears streaming down his face. I walked over and put my hand on his shoulder. You okay? I asked. No, Dylan said. But I will be. The next morning, I woke up with absolute clarity. Rita had shown her true colors, and now it was time to protect what was mine. I called my attorney, Benjamin Garrett, a family law specialist Dale had recommended. Benjamin's office was in East Memphis, and I met with him that afternoon. Benjamin was in his early 50s, gray suit, sharp eyes. He listened to my story without interruption, took notes, and when I finished, he leaned back in his chair. You've got a strong case, Benjamin said. The evidence Dale gathered is solid. The fact that she admitted the affair to your son in front of you is even better. But we need to move fast. What do you recommend? I asked. First, we file for divorce immediately. North Carolina allows alienation of affection lawsuits, so we'll file against Kurt Stone as well. Second, we secure your assets. What's the house situation? The house is in both our names. We bought it together 12 years ago. Benjamin nodded. We'll need to address that. What about bank accounts? We have a joint checking and savings. I also have a separate account from my consulting work that Rita doesn't know about. Move your money out of the joint accounts today. Open a new account in your name only. Document every transaction. We don't want her claiming you had assets, but we also don't want her draining the accounts out of spite. I left Benjamin's office and went straight to First Horizon Bank on Poplar Avenue. The banker, a woman named Susan Reed, helped me close the joint accounts and transfer my half into a new personal account. I left Rita's half in a separate account she could access, just to avoid any legal complications. Next, I contacted the mortgage company and property management firms. The house was our biggest asset, but Benjamin warned me that Tennessee was an equitable distribution state. Rita would likely get a share of the house value in the divorce, but I could control how that played out. By the end of the week, I had everything lined up. Bank accounts separated, mortgage payments secured, and the divorce papers ready to file. Benjamin recommended waiting until Rita's parents found out about the affair before filing. He said their reaction might give us additional leverage. Rita's parents, Richard and Barbara Gaines, were old-school conservatives from Jackson, Tennessee. They'd never liked me much, thought I wasn't successful enough for their daughter. But they valued family, reputation, and morality above everything else. When they found out Rita was cheating, especially with the medical diagnosis hanging over my head, they'd be furious. I didn't have to wait long. Dylan, bless him, called his grandmother and told her everything. 24 hours later, Barbara Gaines showed up at our house, her face like thunder. Barbara Gaines arrived at our house like a storm rolling in off the Mississippi River. She drove up in her silver Cadillac, parked in the driveway, and marched to the front door without knocking. I was in the living room when she walked in, Dylan right behind her. Where is she? Barbara demanded. Her voice was ice. She's been staying at a hotel, I said, standing up. The Residence Inn on Poplar. Barbara's face was tight with fury. Dylan told me everything. Is it true? Is Rita having an affair? Yes, ma'am. I have proof if you need to see it. Barbara shook her head. I don't need to see anything. I raised my daughter better than this. And to do it while you're dealing with a medical condition? That's unforgivable. I'd always thought Barbara looked down on me, thought I wasn't good enough for her daughter. But standing there in my living room, she looked at me with something close to respect. What are you going to do? Barbara asked. I'm filing for divorce. My attorney's already drawn up the papers. Good. And I want you to know something, Preston. Richard and I will not support Rita in this. We'll testify on your behalf if you need us to. What she's done is wrong, and she needs to face the consequences. That shocked me. Mrs. Gaines, you don't have to do that. Yes, I do. She's my daughter, and I love her, but I won't stand by while she destroys this family. Dylan deserves better. You deserve better. Barbara left shortly after, promising to call Rita and tell her exactly what she thought. I sat back down on the couch, Dylan beside me. Grandma's serious, Dylan said. Yes, she is. Think it'll make a difference. Maybe, but it doesn't change what I have to do. That evening, Rita called. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Preston, we need to talk, Rita said. Her voice was strained, defensive. I'm listening. I replied, keeping my tone neutral. My mother just called me. She's furious. She said she's cutting me out of her will if I don't end things with Kurt and fix our marriage. And what did you tell her? There was a long pause. I told her I'm not sure I can fix this. Then don't, I said flatly. I've already filed for divorce. You'll be served the papers within the week. Preston, wait. Can't we at least try counseling or something? Why? So you can lie to a therapist the way you've been lying to me. I never meant for this to happen, Rita said, her voice breaking. Kurt and we just connected. You've been so distant lately, so focused on work and your health issues. I felt alone. You felt alone. I laughed, bitter and cold. I've been fighting to keep this family together while you've been sneaking around with another man. Don't talk to me about feeling alone. Preston, please. The papers will include a lawsuit against Kurt Stone for alienation of affection. My attorney says we have a strong case. You and Kurt destroyed this marriage, and you're both going to pay for it. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking, not from anger, but from the sheer relief of finally saying what needed to be said. Dylan looked at me from across the room. You okay, Dad? Yeah, I said. I'm okay. Rita's supposed business trip to Charleston was scheduled for the following week. She'd already paid for the hotel, already arranged the time off work. But I knew she wasn't going to Charleston. She was meeting Kurt Stone somewhere, probably using the trip as cover for another long weekend together. I decided to use that time to my advantage. While Rita was gone, I'd sell the house. It was risky, maybe even borderline unethical, but Benjamin assured me it could be done. The house was in both our names, but with the divorce filed and Rita's infidelity documented, a judge would likely side with me on the sale, especially if I split the proceeds fairly. Benjamin connected me with a real estate agent named Carol Bishop. Carol was in her 60s, no nonsense, and she moved fast. She listed the house on Wednesday, and by Friday, we had 2 offers. I accepted the higher one, a young couple from Nashville who were relocating to Memphis for work. The closing was scheduled for the following Thursday, right in the middle of Rita's trip. Carol handled everything, kept it quiet, kept it professional. I started packing my things, boxing up everything that mattered. Photos of Dylan, my father's old tools, books and records I collected over the years. Dylan helped me pack. We worked in silence mostly, the weight of what was happening pressing down on both of us. Where are we going to live? Dylan asked at one point. I found an apartment in Germantown. 2 bedrooms, close to your school. We'll be fine. What about Mom? She'll figure it out. She's got Kurt, remember? Dylan nodded, but didn't say anything. I could tell he was processing everything, trying to make sense of how his family had fallen apart so quickly. Rita left for Charleston on Tuesday morning. She kissed Dylan goodbye, barely looked at me, and drove off in her Lexus with her suitcase in the trunk. The second her car turned the corner, I called the movers. By Thursday afternoon, the house was empty. Furniture gone, walls bare, every trace of our 20 years together erased. The new owners, a couple named Stephen and Laura Hendricks, were scheduled to move on Friday morning. Carol handed me the check for my half of the sale, and I deposited it immediately into my new account. Friday evening, Rita came home. I wasn't there to see it, but Dylan told me what happened later. Rita pulled into the driveway and immediately knew something was wrong. The yard looked different. The lights were on inside, but in the wrong places. She walked up to the front door and knocked. A woman answered. Laura Hendricks, the new owner. Can I help you? Laura asked, confused. This is my house, Rita said, her voice rising. Who are you? I'm sorry, but you must have the wrong address. My husband and I just bought this house. We moved in this morning. Rita's face went pale. What? No, that's not possible. This is my house. I live here. Laura looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you should call someone. Rita stood there on the porch, staring at a stranger in her own doorway, and finally understood what I'd done. She pulled out her phone and called me. I answered on the third ring. Preston, what the hell did you do? Rita screamed into the phone. I sold a house, I said calmly. Your half of the proceeds is in an account under your name. The bank details are in the envelope I left with your attorney. You can't just sell our house without telling me. I just did. The divorce papers explain everything. You'll also find a lawsuit filed against Kurt Stone. My attorney will be in touch. Rita was sobbing now, her voice breaking. Preston, please. We can fix this. No, Rita. We can't. Goodbye. I hung up and turned off my phone. Dylan and I were sitting in our new apartment, eating pizza on folding chairs because the furniture hadn't arrived yet. He looked at me, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something like pride in his eyes. You really did it, Dylan said. Yeah, I replied. I really did. The week after Rita discovered the house was sold, she went into full panic mode. She called constantly, left voicemails that ranged from angry to pleading to desperate. I didn't respond to any of them. My attorney, Benjamin Garrett, advised me to let him handle all communication, and that's exactly what I did. Benjamin called me on Wednesday afternoon. Preston, Rita's attorney wants to negotiate. She's willing to drop her claim to half the house proceeds if you drop the alienation of affection lawsuit against Kurt Stone. No deal, I said immediately. Are you sure? The lawsuit could take years and cost tens of thousands in legal fees. I don't care. Kurt Stone destroyed my marriage. He needs to pay for that. Benjamin was quiet for a moment. All right, I'll tell them we're moving forward with everything. 2 days later, Rita showed up at Dylan's school. She cornered him in the parking lot after band practice, begging him to talk to me, to convince me to give her another chance. Dylan called me from his car, and I could hear Rita crying in the background. Dad, she's losing it, Dylan said quietly. She keeps saying she made a mistake, that she wants to fix things. Do you want to talk to her? I asked. No, I just want to go home. Then leave. If she follows you, call the police. Dylan did exactly that. Rita didn't follow, but she did call me an hour later, her voice raw from crying. Preston, please. I'll do anything. I'll end things with Kurt. I'll go to therapy, whatever you want. It's too late for that, I said. You made your choice when you told our son that Kurt was a better man than me. You destroyed this family, Rita. Not me. I was angry. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. And now you have to live with it. She hung up, and I didn't hear from her again for several days. Then Benjamin called with news that made me smile for the first time in weeks. Kurt Stone's attorney reached out. Benjamin said, he wants to settle the alienation of affection lawsuit. He's offering $75,000. Tell him $150,000, I said. Preston, that's aggressive. He can afford it. And if he doesn't want his name dragged through the local papers, he'll pay. Benjamin laughed. I'll make the counteroffer. Kurt settled for $120,000. The lawsuit was dropped, but the damage to his reputation was done. Word spread through Memphis's business community about what he'd done, and several of his clients quietly dropped his firm. Rita lost her job when her employer found out about the affair and decided they didn't want the negative publicity. Meanwhile, my medical tests came back. The mass in my head was benign. It would need to be monitored, but it wasn't cancer. When Dr. Brennan gave me the news, I sat in his office and felt something break inside me. Not grief, but relief. I was going to be okay. I told Dylan that night over dinner at our new apartment. He cried, actually cried, and hugged me so hard I thought he might break a rib. I thought I was going to lose you, Dylan said, his voice muffled against my shoulder. You're not losing me, son. I'm right here. 8 months later, life had settled into a new rhythm. Dylan graduated from high school with honors and got accepted into Belmont University in Nashville to study music production. I was proud of him, proud of how he'd handled everything that had happened. The divorce was finalized in July. Rita got her half of the house proceeds and nothing else. The The prenuptial agreement we'd signed years ago protected most of my retirement savings, and the alienation of affection settlement went entirely to me. Rita moved to Jackson to live with her parents, who barely spoke to her according to Barbara. Barbara called me every few weeks to check in, apologizing repeatedly for her daughter's behavior. She and Richard had written Dylan into their will as the primary beneficiary, cutting Rita's share down to almost nothing. Dylan didn't care about the money, but I appreciated the gesture. It showed that some people still valued integrity. As for me, I threw myself into work and into being a better father. Dylan and I went to concerts, took a road trip to Colorado, spent weekends working on his truck in the apartment complex's parking lot. We talked about everything: his future, his music, his feelings about the divorce. He admitted he'd suspected something was wrong for months before I confirmed it. I heard Mom on the phone once. Dylan told me one evening. She was laughing in a way she never laughed with you. I knew then something was off. Why didn't you say anything? Because I didn't want it to be true. I kept hoping I was wrong. I understood that feeling all too well. My health improved. The headache stopped, my energy came back, and I started running again. I even went on a few dates, though nothing serious. I wasn't ready for that yet. Maybe someday, but not now. One Saturday in September, Dylan and I were packing his things for college. He was nervous, excited, ready to start his new life. As we loaded boxes into my truck, he turned to me. "Dad, I need to tell you something." "What's up?" "I'm proud of you for how you handled everything. You could have fallen apart, but you didn't. You stayed strong, and you protected us. That takes guts." I looked at my son, this young man who'd grown up too fast because of circumstances beyond his control, and felt my throat tighten. "Thanks, Dylan. That means a lot. I mean it. You're the strongest person I know." We finished loading the truck and drove to Nashville in comfortable silence. As we pulled up to Dylan's dorm, I realized that this chapter of my life was closing. The pain, the betrayal, the anger, it was all fading into something manageable, something I could live with. Rita tried to reach out one last time before Dylan left for college. She sent a long email apologizing, asking for forgiveness, hoping we could be civil for Dylan's sake. I read it once, then deleted it. Some things don't deserve a response. I dropped Dylan off at Belmont, helped him move into his dorm room, and said goodbye. As I drove back to Memphis, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: peace. My marriage was over, my health was stable, and my son was thriving. That was enough. Life moves forward whether you're ready or not. The trick is learning to move with it.